I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, welcome to all that are here. We're glad to have you. I need a motion to approve the amended agenda, please.
Make a motion to approve the amended agenda presented.
All in favor? Aye. Public comments? Correspondence to the board. I have a card here. It says, "Dear my Knob Noster family, thank you so much for the lovely flowers you sent after the birth of our son Camden. That was very sweet of you all. Thanks again, the Morrisons." Recognitions.
So we've got a full house tonight, and most of them are our Phenomenal Panthers. So we're going to go ahead and just recognize our Phenomenal Panthers. And this month, we actually have two groups of students that have represented Knob Noster in some regional competitions, and some who will be representing Knob Noster now going on into the state level competitions in March and April. The first group of students we'd like to introduce are FBLA, and they're at Knob Noster High School. They're sponsored by Ms. Neva Allen, and there are 6 students representing Knob Noster High School at FBLA in the State Leadership Conference in April. And they are Nicole Gillespie. She's going to be taking on an objective test for introduction to FBLA. Olivia Bizenga, Sarah Walters, and Michaela Hodson will compete in the Community Service Project event for the chapter's initiative in pop-up market during Shop Small Saturday, allowing non-storefront and student business participation. Alyssa Elliott is competing in the e-business event for development of a new website to sell Knob Noster and Panther merchandise. And then Raven Muley will represent Knob Noster FBLA chapter for the Project Main Street Award, which was submitted for the chapter's commitment to purchase from Missouri vendors. Let's give our FBLA a big round of applause.
Were you one of the outstanding? I believe it. Good job. Good job.
I'll take a quick couple pictures, all right? On the camera, oh, sorry. Okay, very good. I just realized that first. All right, on the camera, 3. 1, 2, 3. It's okay. Thank you.
So our second group of students are in FCCLA, and we have representation here tonight, both from our middle school and from our Knob-Noster High School. Our middle school is sponsored by Ms. Bridget Carpenter, and our Knob-Noster High School is sponsored by Ms. Veronica Barnes. So there are 9 students who received gold and silver ratings at the regional star events at UCM, with 6 of those students advancing to the FCCLA State Leadership Conference, which will actually be held next week. In the junior division from Knob-Noster Middle School, we have Kinsey Luber, Abby Sater, and Zoe Schroeder. They received a gold rating at regionals and will compete in the food innovation category for their cream cheese bomb. And they can only come up if they brought one tonight. And then Addison Rating received a silver rating at regionals in the Environment Ambassador event for her project, Green School Supplies. And then from Knob-Noster High School, Olivia Bazenga, Lauren Hagel, and Sarah Walters received a gold rating at regionals and will compete in the hospitality, tourism, and recreation event for project Sandcastles, Bread and Breakfast. Elizabeth Atkinson and Michaela Hodson, they received a silver rating at regionals in the Promote and Publicize FCCLA, their event for Knowledge to Knob-Noster. Congratulations to both our FBLA, and let's give our FCCLA members a big round of applause.
There you are again. Oh my gosh. Buddies, we all work hard together, right? Good job.
So let's get this way, unless you.
There you go.
This way.
You want to do
I'm gonna take a couple more pictures. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful.
And for our partners in education this month, we would like to recognize the coaches of these 2 great teams, actually 3 great teams, including our middle school team. But our FBLA sponsor, Neva Allen, our FCCLA at the middle school, Bridget Carpenter, and at the high school, Veronica Barnes. We can have them come forward. They are It wasn't a surprise to them. We were hoping they would all show. So we're glad.
I know, right?
That's right.
Yeah, you make it us look.
It's okay.
Good job. Thank you. Thank you.
We can get you guys to step forward just a little bit. Have you guys fill in on this side a little?
Push in, Mr. Colron.
All right, well, again, just want to say congratulations to all our students and certainly our sponsors for the fantastic job. We're very proud of the job you do with that program and how you represent our schools. So again, congrats and keep up the great work. Everyone is welcome to stick around all night. It does get really exciting, so hopefully to settle in.
Wow. Wow, did you just really do that?
It's exciting.
I'm just saying, I was asking. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks again, everyone.
All right, next up, we have Makerspace presentation. This is for information only.
And maybe entertainment.
Good, there we
Do we
go.
have our slideshow?
Yes, we do.
It'll definitely be some entertainment. All right, is that how it looks? I don't know.
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, I don't know if you know much about makerspaces. They are kind of a relatively new thing in libraries. And so I thought a few months ago, why not volunteer ourselves to give the board a little presentation on what a makerspace is and what we're doing in our libraries. So I volunteered some of my kids to give you guys kind of a look into what a makerspace is. So they're going to be coming up in pairs and talking about different things. We have some things to show you, some things that will kind of show you some of the things we do. And then Mrs. Woods is going to talk about the high school. I think we're going to talk about the elementary and middle school, and then we didn't want to talk about the high school. So this is what we'll step in then. All right? Go ahead. Go ahead and step up.
Come on up,
Or
Carol.
that's fine.
Oh, there you go.
Hello, my name is Abby Sater. I took Makerspace class the first semester of the year, and my favorite thing about Makerspace is learning how to express my creativity. What is a makerspace? People have been making things for hundreds of years. In earlier times, if you wanted something made, it was done by hand. Then, as you progress through society, items were designed by people and machines took over. In our modern society, the desire to make things hasn't disappeared. The maker movement gives shared access to tools and ideas. The first maker space focused on computer coding and experiencing with technology. Makerspace is simply a place where people can share tools and ideas to make things. Hi, my name is Delaney Grant, and I like makerspaces that help you learn and creative and different types of thoughts. What makes a makerspace and why put it in our libraries? Libraries are known for providing tools, learning, creating, access. It's a natural progression for libraries. Libraries have always been involved in collection development and with the help with big connection development. There are 8 big ideas behind it. 1, learning by doing. Physically manipulating things is a powerful way to learn. 2, technology as building material. Learn and use tech you need. 3, hard fun. Work hard and enjoy it. 4, learning to learn. Taking charge of your own learning. 5, taking time. Don't rush the job. 6, you can't get it right without getting it wrong. It's okay to take time to succeed. It's okay to succeed the first time. Not to succeed. 7, makerspace leaders need to keep learning and thinking. 8, digital world. Use tech to help students learn about everything.
You first.
Hi, I'm Jason Ralph. I took Makerspace first semester. I like Makerspace because of the challenge, and I'll be presenting this slide for you guys. Makerspaces are an ideal place for students to explore STEM and STEM concepts in a fun environment. A recent study by Michigan State University found that participating arts and crafts in early years made people much more likely to be successful in STEM careers.
All right.
Hi, I'm Colin Jones, and I'm fifth grader at AMS, and I do Makerspace for advisory and work. And Makerspace is the best part of my day because it helps me bring out my creativity and here we have Knob Nuster Elementary Makerspace, and then after reading Show Me Nomi's Deanna's White House Garden, first grade students use brain flakes to create some vegetables that Deanna grew in her garden. And then the next picture is fourth graders working together to write code during the hour of code in December. And then fourth graders students work to improve their collaborative and problem-solving skills by creating and printing 3D designs on a new 3D printers purchased through the Lowe's Toolbox for Education grant. And then kindergarten students use code and Google Mice to sequence the next day story. And then students use Osnote to help with spelling words. And then over there, the kindergarten students are learning their ABCs. New Click Team.
Hi, my name's Jay Green. I am a fifth grader at AMS. I like Makerspace because it challenges your brain. And here's Whiteman Elementary Makerspace. Here are some Whiteman Elementary students using code and drill lines to sequence the main events of the story. And here are some more students using Osmo tangrams. Whiteman Elementary. There's more Whiteman Elementary students using research units studying biographies and using green screens. And here's some STEM activities.
Whiteman Elementary. 44 grade students finished projects studying biographies and made green screen videos to present what they learned. First graders used stick-on animation to create a movie making a stick-on walk across the screen.
Good job. I am studying on Grant Coleman now. So this Play-Doh is pretty much Play-Doh that you can play with and form shapes. And then it has circuit boards so you can make it. And then these are snap circuits. I'll be showing you a quick presentation on. It's a board that you can put snap circuits to make things light up and fly off. And then these are Makey Makeys. It's a circuit board connected with an alligator foot. I'll pass around some of the Makey Makeys. So this is one of the things that it makes. There's like 50 that in a notebook. There's like 50 in a notebook that you can all do. Or go back. All right. This right, and Jake again.
Do I also do those? I like the Lego challenge because you have to build something with the Legos you have in a certain amount of time, and it's really fun. Power strips are little magnetic ways that you can connect to anything magnetic, even like string and the belt. And then there is the connects, and they're just little joints that connect to the
Very good. You can pass it down.
Okay, so here, KMS, Matrixspace, and other tech in STEM. Here are some students using green screen. Some more students using Oswald Cambriums. Them using Blockles is what you have. You place blocks on a board and to make a video game. And here's some students podcasting. Podcasting is like a video for your ears, so audio video. And here you go.
There's the STEM activity, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We use provided materials and we and then there's restricted stuff like and then you'll be judged by the state on how
Very good. Very excellent. All right.
So for arts and crafts, we did a baking project. We had to bake cookies for a community project, and then for book folding, we had to fold. We showed something to make in a picture in our book, a season.
And translation.
Where's the baby?
Oh,
okay. Just checking.
They made cookies for the airmen and the dorms over Christmas. They used our little toaster oven. Okay. Is it the next slide?
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
And then for the duct tape project, we had to choose things to duct tape. I made a slide bracelet. Made some big yarn hats. We had to cut yarn, wrap them around, and fold yarn ornament hat.
Next slide. Right, Trey.
My name is Trey Payne. I'm a seventh grade student at KNMS. I think Matrixspace is important to have in our library because it allows students to express their creativity and solve real-world problems. Part of our real-world problem solving is we do breakouts. There's two types of breakouts. There's digital and physical breakouts. Digital breakout would be, there would be certain patterns, colors, or shapes that go into a lock, unlocks a certain thing you need to save humanity. For example, we had a physical breakout where we had to find a cure to a zombie apocalypse, and it was stuck in the box, and we had all these clues. We had like a number lock where we figure out what the numbers are, open it, and it'll give us more hints towards the next block, which might be a shape walk. That shape walk would give us final numbers that had the clues stuck inside. And with the breakdowns, we have a certain amount of time to solve the whole concept.
Next, we have a Sphera, which is a little robot ball, and then a mini Sphera. And then an Ollie that we have. I'm not gonna forget to talk about you. And from the beginning of a robotics, it's kind of like a start off to robotics. And this is our Sphera that you can hook up with chariots, and you can go or make them go through or code them to go through obstacle courses and knock over bowling pins and
These are Don Russell Middle School library social media accounts. Please follow us at all the above.
So I'm Mrs. Wood. I'm the high school librarian, and my kids are all busy. But I figured some videos here in a little bit that you'll see. So I started off, we use the green screen a lot in our makerspace, and this is a couple different ways that we've used it. The one up here on the top left is the students using a backdrop. We have a pegboard with different colored golf tees, and the kids can make all different designs and stuff. And this one, it says soft skills. They were doing an informational video about soft skills. It's kind of hard to see the some orange, but that makes a really neat backdrop. Oh, thank you. And the other one is, we shot this video or this this picture with the green screen. These are our students of the month. This is one of my favorites. They came up with the design and then they posed in front of it. Like perfect self-control design stuff. Okay, so I interviewed a couple of the kids that use the makerspace a lot. The first one we watched was Bryce, and he didn't talk very loud. I'm hoping he can hear it. I didn't know what your speaker system would be. Not.
You have to watch it on your own.
Yeah, never mind. Because I should have. My bad. Sorry. Okay, well, Bryce talks about Raspberry Pi. Now he's used a Raspberry Pi. He's coded it so we can play retro video games on it. Or this little bitty $35 device, and now it's like a Nintendo and a Sega and all kinds of stuff. It's really cool. So he's pretty proud of that. He spent a lot of time on that. My other student, he is on the right. This is Joey, and he has worked very hard on this Lego castle. And I'll show you a little more about here later on. So. Okay. Over on the left is our newest piece of technology. We just got it this year, the Go Forge. It is incredible. And I brought some examples of some stuff that it can do. This is a Christmas ornament. It's a Christmas ornament that one of our students sold it, actually. So it's really cool. It'll cut and engrave on wood. This is acrylic, leather, and different. I've done all kinds of cell phone cases and all kinds of stuff. This is some signs I actually made those for our library using it as acrylic. I just took it. I actually cut it, I glued them together, but it's fun, a little fun device. I really enjoyed it. This is Alan's digital media class. And this, we also have a 3D printer, which I didn't take pictures of that, but this is something that we made with some keychains to students. We did an ELA project, and the kids wrote a story, and they designed a keychain that had a symbol of the story in it. So this one. So that's Joey playing with her glow forge, and then the rest of it we also have a Sphero and we have a Cube. They're both little robots. You can code them. You can also run a remote control. They kind of work two different ways. But for fun, I decided to set up this obstacle course in the library, and they had to try to steer the Sphero on the court and the Cube through the obstacle course. So it was pretty fun. And then when they got the remote control master, then I challenged them to try to code it and figure out how to program it. So go on. This year we had our first annual school maker fair, and it was a blast. We had a week where just all kinds of activities going on in the library, featuring the maker fair or the maker space stuff. The make and take station was really, really popular. We had things kids could make their own stress balls, which I've had lots of kids request that we bring the stress balls back because they need them around AP testing time and stuff. But stress balls, bouncy balls, they made some bead art. We made some bots and some sensory balls. So lots of fun stuff that week. You can see the kids kind of at different stations making their. And this is some more from the Maker Fair. You can see I've got a couple of students here. They're playing. Those are the retro video games. So we've got Super Mario Brothers going on, which kids actually coded it, figured out how to do it all this little bitty device. So it's really awesome. I guess other kids get to enjoy it now. But anyway, and then up here on the top, we have some kids playing Floxels, which is just an animation. They can create a pixelated image and then take a picture with their iPad, use the program, and makes it animated. So it's pretty fun there. And then Bryce, go back. Bryce actually loves coding stuff, and he's working with this little LED set. You can code to make different messages. Now this one, part of our Maker Fair, we had art bots, and Kira here, she's making an art bot. And I was really mad at myself because by the end of the week, this was all completely covered. This was the beginning of the week. You can kind of see some work the kids did, or that one of the art bots did, but I forgot to take a picture of the finished work. But this is, they made these little art bots, they were little motorized, they would vibrate, move around, and they actually drew designs like that. I mean, it's just scribbles, but the kids love watching with the markers go around and, you know, watching their bots move. It's fun. So, wish I had a picture of our final, but I got busy and forgot to do that. So. And this is some more. We also do paper crafts at the high school too. We made some Christmas trees around Christmas time. This is Joey working on his Lego castle again. And then we also have the 3D. We have a 3D pen. So kids that don't feel comfortable with actually coding or using the CAD programs, the 3D printer, they can just by hand also create that. And he actually created a guitar. So it's a guitar base. He added to it later on as the week went on. The Lego castle. We actually started off during Teen Read Week. We had a Harry Potter day, and they started off. They built the castle, the Hogwarts castle. They actually have a train and all kinds of stuff now. But as the year progressed, the kids kept having ideas. So it has now become. It has LED lights in it, so it's completely wired up. Joey's actually working on the LED lights right there. And then we had a display case where some kids who are very artistic created the whole layout. So we have it complete. It's up on a little hill, and it's got a river running around it. And it's really cool. So, guys get a chance. We also have breakout boxes. It's a great way. I mean, I teach cyber safety every year. The kids, they get tired by the time they're seniors. So ways to make it interesting so that they're still engaged. I did a breakout box for this year. The kids absolutely love breakout boxes. And Mr. Fox, the teacher, students loved them too. He came in. He wasn't even in this class. He just decided he wanted to join in just for fun, and he really got into it. So. He's gonna love it that I put this picture on. And right now in the makerspace, we have the Team Tech Week is going on right now. So if you guys want to pop in, we have a lot of stuff out for the kids to play with. And we have different things going on. I had instructional sessions going on during Panther Hour where the kids can come in. We're doing stop motion animation, app creation. We're gonna feature Bloxels tomorrow, and then on Friday we're featuring Glowforge. So lots of fun stuff. And we've the Makey for piano is something that's really been interesting. We use the Makey that you guys pass around. We have the giant board piano that actually is an octave and C. So
yeah, this is kind of when students can access.
Okay.
Okay.
For the high school kids can all day long. They come in the makerspace is open. I have classes that reserve it, and then kids can just come in if they have permission as well. Next year we're going to have what we call Innovation Hour, a new class, and it's going to be students are going to be it's a semester-long course, so students that are in the class get to come in every day. We're going to create a project throughout this semester. They're going to research something in depth and then have a final project.
In the younger grades, we're a little more structured. So, turn me along. So, my kids can use the makerspace in the Roars Advisory and during library. We try to do it a couple times a month. And then we did add a makerspace class this year, so kids can actually do a lot of things that we in more in depth during class. And then with the elementary kids usually just during their library time, correct?
Correct.
Yep. Okay. And then I guess our last one is the last slide. Those are our librarians, those are our special visitors. And we just want to say thank you guys for support of our libraries and our makerspaces. I know I feel very blessed that my administration, whenever I ask about makerspace stuff, first Julie says, how much is it going to cost? But then she's always like, this is going to be really good. So I think the other librarians feel the same way. So it's a new thing. It's been around a few years, but it's pretty new to us in Valdosta. So thanks for listening to me. Anybody have any questions?
How did the fair wares, is that how it was?
Maker Fair?
You had last fall, it said that you had
Yeah.
kind of like opening event to sell items or.
No, we didn't sell anything. It was all the kids could make and take things if they wanted to. It was, I think that they could make, it was designed them to make all kinds of, I had collected trash, forgot to not, I should say trash, like plastic bottles and stuff like that. And I had some, the kids made it, that's what the trash was really. They just sold stuff and they didn't actually,
So you had a big turnout.
well, kids, yeah. Kids love to make stuff, especially if they didn't take it.
Really interesting.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm gonna do it again next year.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
I think I would be remiss not to say, students, when I was your age, when we went to the library, we sat, we didn't speak, we read, and if we had ever done anything like what you guys did with the book, we would have ended up in the principal box. So, I just have to say, we're really excited. Thank you to our OMC specialist for adding this element and bringing in so many different opportunities for learning and being not just consumers of knowledge, but creators, as the space implies, with what you're learning and what you're learning, and applying that to so many different areas. So thanks for all you do, and we look forward to the next chapter with this portion of our curriculum.
And I have to say, wow, that's really a hard act to follow. I mean, number one, love the kids. Those are the kids. Love it, right?
I thought you might like that.
I know, love it, that you all bring all these kids from all these, I mean, just love it.
Well, thank you.
And the fact that, you know, how awesome Makerspace is and the things that you do. And, you know, the things that you sell. I know the Christmas ornament, get on that. I'm not sure who that was, get on that. Start selling.
That's Sally does that.
I know.
Well, I have to say though, when we got the glove board, actually one of the students started doing that. So at the pop-up market, he now sells it. He went to his grandmother and asked for a loan and purchased his own glove board for home, but he's turning it into a business.
I will
So
buy.
it started in tech, but we did it in makerspace. So that's the way all the classes actually use the makerspace. I mean, we could go in there and access any of it that complement our classes. So it's a really good workspace.
That is so awesome. That is awesome.
I'm sorry about the
Schools
video.
have 3D printers now, right? So we can,
She has them. She drives those, I don't drive.
It really sounds like the library is a much funner place in today's world than it was when I was in.
Well, I know when I became a librarian 5 years ago, my goal was for that to, PE was my favorite growing up. So I wanted to be at least pretty close to PE, and we're getting there. So
You're getting there.
yeah. Thank you guys for your.
And I will say, this is exactly what school board meetings are supposed to be like. I love it. Thank you.
If we get all of our students and our LNC specialists up for a photo, as back out here, please.
I never thought I'd see the day that kids were going to the office for for their teacher for a library badge.
You guys can kind of file in with you.
Great job. Great library.
I'm wonderful, you know what I'm saying?
Great job.
Oh my goodness.
Good job, very, very good job. Great. Love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good job. Yeah. How you, Carter? You guys did a good job for the presentation. Good job. Good job. Excuse me. Good job.
Got it, okay.
Well, where you going? I don't think, you guys gotta stay for the rest. Okay, thanks, bye.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, next up is principal and director's reports. They're on there. If you have any questions.
With the short turn on meetings, we were added a couple of these late, so you may see a few that you want to review if you looked over the agenda earlier.
Okay, next up, MSBA report.
I'm going to take a little detour here off the MSBA report. MSBA does I think it's a monthly or quarterly Stand Up for Public Schools video, and in this month, MSBA is highlighting Mount Mercer schools, so I'd like to take a few minutes to view that.
America's B-2 stealth bomber fleet, based at Whiteman Air Force Base in west central Missouri, had a problem. The pilots in the cramped cockpit kept bumping into some exposed switches. Switches could then become disengaged, causing serious issues. One case resulted in an emergency landing in Colorado. The situation demanded a quick and permanent solution. Base leaders at Whiteman were familiar with the Stealth Panther robotics team at nearby Knob Noster High School. So, rather than seek a solution from a defense contractor, they decided to ask the students if they could come up with an answer. They did. In 72 hours, the students 3D printed a cover for the switch box.
Brigadier General John Nichols said, I don't want to spend $10 million and wait 10 years. And so he came to us asking for basically a butter dish. And we made some slight modifications. And 72 hours later and 8 prototypes later, we have our final product. And it latches right onto our the AMAD panel with dual lock Velcro. And then, so in flight, they can just peel it right off.
Brigadier General John Nichols says the students came through with flying colors.
This team of high school STEM-related super smart students printed 72 hours from initial design contest and final product at the grand total cost of $1.25 a copy.
That plastic cover developed by Knob Noster High School students is now standard equipment on all B-2 bombers in the fleet. The students say they welcome the opportunity to work on the project.
We're deeply honored to help serve this, have our little part in such an important aircraft in the Air Force.
About 2/3 of Knob Noster students are connected in some way to the Air Force Base. They shared their story during MSBA's Student Showcase event at the state capitol in Jefferson City earlier this year. The efforts of the students were recognized late last year when the Department of Defense announced the school district was the recipient of a $2 million grant for robotics and STEM-related programs. Meanwhile, the Stealth Panthers at Knob Noster High School say they remain on immediate standby for their next mission with Whiteman Air Force Base. Missouri high school students fixing a problem on one of the world's most advanced aircraft. Just one more reason to stand up for Missouri's public schools.
All right, so I know the board has seen that story before. That was just one more version of that story being told by MSBA. We do know that our students, a group of these students, have also been invited out to Washington, D.C. next month to be presented at the Strategic Deterrent Coalition National Symposium, and General Goldfein will be there to recognize our students as well. So, and that actually is being picked up in full by sponsors of that event. So, pretty neat experience, and I would also relay just the theme of the creativity and what we're doing with our STEM programming throughout all of our schools, culminating in part with what we're doing with FIRST Robotics. This same story, actually the original story that General Nichols did was shared yesterday. He visited over at Honeywell in Belton and shared the story, and their leadership was, he gave me a call last night and let me know that their leadership was extremely impressed and were very forthcoming with wanting to develop a partnership and put some scholarships in front of our students. So we'll look forward to connecting with Honeywell and further promoting our STEM programming here in Knob Noster. And with that, we'll move on to the MSBA board report.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Missouri School Boards Association's board report for the month of March. We thank you for the opportunity to share some news and information during a few minutes of your board meeting. We begin with a look at MSBA's recent legislative forum in Jefferson City, where nearly 300 school board members and administrators participated. One of the speakers at the event was the president of the State Board of Education, Charlie Shields, who said the state must place a high priority on early childhood education, since the education of a 3-year-old is as important as the education of a 3rd grader. He also touched on the issue of charter schools, saying current charter school laws in Missouri are a mismatch of accountability.
Now, I believe that there is a role for charter schools in the state of Missouri, but we need to have workable laws and better understand what it takes to make charter schools successful. Now, I think that discussion has to take place before any discussion about expansion of charter schools occurs in the state.
Shields also said closing poorly performing charter schools has proven to be difficult under current laws. There are currently several bills moving in the General Assembly that would expand charter schools beyond St. Louis and Kansas City, where they currently exist. MSBA believes charter schools should be authorized by local boards of education and held to the same accountability standards as traditional public schools. Shields also urged school board members and administrators to tell legislators about the great things going on in Missouri's public schools.
You hear this in the Capitol from all these sources that say public education is failing our state. But the one thing that is always common that people say that public education is failing our state is they usually have an economic interest in the solution. So that's why the cry is public education is failing, because you have to create a crisis, you have to say something is failing before you can have a solution, and most people creating the solution have an economic interest in that solution. So your job is to spread the good word about public education.
Another speaker at the Legislative Forum, Dr. Tim Hodges of the Gallup organization, said research shows creating a positive school culture and climate will not only help keep teachers from leaving the profession, but also will result in better student performance. He said better salaries and benefits are needed to attract people to teaching, but creating a positive school climate where teachers are engaged can keep teachers in the classroom.
Less turnover, teacher shortage problem. Let's create an environment that causes people to want to stay rather than one that causes them to consider when they're going to leave. And how about engagement of our students, of our parents? Another big difference. If teachers are engaged, that rubs off on everybody in the school community and the broader community as well.
Hodges added that research is clear that a positive school climate contributes to academic achievement and decreases the negative influence of poor socioeconomic background characteristics and other risk factors related to academic achievement. Following presentations on legislative issues, board members and administrators attending the Legislative Forum had the opportunity to visit with legislators from their home areas at the Capitol. Once again this year, a feature of the Legislative Forum was the Student Showcase. Students from more than a dozen school districts set up displays in the Capitol Rotunda to show off some of the innovative programs and projects in Missouri's public schools. The showcase included students from the Knob Noster School District who designed a plastic switch cover now being used in the B-2 bombers based at Whiteman Air Force Base to prevent possible in-flight emergencies, as well as students from the Riverview Gardens School District who helped develop and open a school-based health clinic for students. We thank all of the students who participated in this year's Student Showcase. MSBA will be hosting another Student Showcase during this fall's annual conference. MSBA spring regional meetings are coming up in April and May. A meeting is held in each of MSBA's 17 regions in the state. It's a great opportunity to network with your colleagues from your area of the state and to share ideas. Topics for this year's spring regional meetings will vary by region. You can find out more about your regional meeting and register for the meeting by visiting the MSBA website. That's it for this month's edition of the MSBA Board Report. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and so long from Columbia.
Okay. Next up is Superintendent Report.
All right. Well, I think State Board President Charlie Shields said it best. Nobody's going to go out necessarily and tell our story for us. We have to create opportunities to tell the good news about what's going on in our public schools and at a local level, what's great that's going on in Knob Noster Public Schools. And one of the reasons that we have added the showcases at the start of our meeting is to equip all of our board members with those positive stories to take out into our communities and help share the good news about the great things that are going on in our district. And I know it takes a lot of time, a little bit of time. I know it's great to see the students, but relaying those stories is important for all of us at this table. And I know every time I'm in front of our faculty, I remind them, tell your stories, because telling those stories is what educates our community, influences public perception about what's going on in our schools. And the research is it takes like 7 or 8 positive stories to offset a negative one. And, I know it's easy to hear the negative ones, but there are so many positive things going on. And I think, I know that the Knob Noster story is being told throughout our state and throughout our country. And I know throughout our community as well. So just wanted to mention that. And then also piggybacking on the report, if anyone would be interested in attending the MSBA Spring Regional, I don't have the date on that, but we can look that up if you're interested. We have attended in the past with marginal feedback, but if we want to re-engage in that, feel free to let me know. We can be happy to go. And moving into my report, I'll jump straight into another amazing story. I'm very pleased to begin my report with a big congratulations to the Knob Noster High School Choir for receiving an exemplary 1 rating at the Missouri State High School Activities Association State Large Ensemble Festival. This marks the first time in a decade for the choir to receive a 1 rating. So actually, it's longer than that. I think it was 93. Did I hear that correct? So that's a little more than a decade, closer to 2 decades. But that's fantastic, and definitely want to congratulate Mr. Logan and team for that fantastic job. To date, the district has accumulated 6 snow days. We're going to wait until a little bit longer to move a little bit more towards springtime before we finalize our plan. But we are looking at all options on this issue, hoping for no additional days this year. We enjoyed hosting Congresswoman Vicki Hartzler in Nob Public Schools on February 22nd. She visited the Stealth Panther Robotics to congratulate them on their recent partnership with Whiteman Air Force Base. She also had a good photo op with our senior Andrew Ely. He was a cadet in our Triad program who received the golden ticket dedicated ride to the Air Force Academy out in Colorado Springs. So we're incredibly proud of Andrew and what's going on in our Triad Jerry Rodson program. On March 4th and 5th, I represented Mount Public Schools, Whiteland Area Leadership Council, and Whiteland Air Force Base at the Association of Defense Communities Installation Innovation Summit, where I highlighted the strong partnership which exists between the school district and the installation. The presentation went well, and we're starting to see this Association of Defense Communities put an emphasized focus on education right now, which was kind of initiated by our last 2 secretaries of the Air Force that have kind of moved that to the front burner. So we look for that to continue and receive good feedback on the relevance of that to our business leaders. Next week, I'll be traveling to Washington, D.C. Actually, Mr. Coron and I will both be traveling up for the spring NAFIS meeting, which will also allow us to go up and educate a new group of our congressional delegation representatives on Capitol Hill. We will be asking for increased funding for impact aid. Currently, the president's budget has, again, proposed the elimination of impact aid for federal properties. We will be asking to replace that, as well as add in some additional basic support program funding for impact aid. So we look forward to another productive session on the Hill, and look forward to meeting with our new Senator Hawley during our visit. Looking in the month ahead, our significant work will focus on finalizing plans for insurance and compensation increases for our employees. As of today, I do have 2 of our insurance quotes back. I'll be receiving the 3rd in the morning, and then we will be evaluating those, and then entering into a listening session with our employees this year as we hear their request or input for compensation increases. Enrollment numbers for the month: Nob Elementary 359 with a 94.09%, Nob Middle School 463 with a 95.86%, Nob High School 377, 95.24%, Whiteman Elementary 374 with 95.87%, district total 1573, 95.27%. And we have had bouts of illness, so we'll see some of those numbers lower than normal. Balances, all funds for February month ending, balances $16,051,851. Revenues to date $15,428,153, which is 76.4% of anticipated. Expenditures $10,714,349, 58.4% of budgeted. And I was in contact with Impact Aid, and we do expect our B2 2019 B2 payment to come in sometime in the next 7 days or so. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Approval of consent agenda.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
I got a couple questions. What's significant about the lease purchase? Who's making it, or?
That will be made next month when our bill comes in. And I just, last year I had put in our, included that in the agenda so that the board could see our, where we are on our debt and repay. There was talk over the last 3 years about potential of early payment of debt. And we've kind of tried to balance out what we're now seeing on our interest rates with our investments to offset that decision. It looks like our interest is exceeding what we're paying in our interest. So we're in a good position to reserve that or pay off. And it's informational.
All in favor? Aye. Approval of bills, full board.
Make a motion to approve the bills.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. MSBA 2018D policy update. Yes, motion to approve. Second.
Do you think there's going to be any pushback from the fingerprint?
Possibly.
I guess the question I have is, this is for new hires, right? What do you need for existing? Is this the norm for most school districts?
I think you might find some consistencies, but I would say every district does things differently. Some districts do pre-employment drug screening for all employees. For example, we participate in the RAP Act program, so we are immediately notified of any arrest, so that helps with our current employees, but that doesn't mean that there could have been some things that were missed at some point.
So, to go back and do background checks, for employees, existing employees, we don't know what that cost, but
It'll be a little pricey. You guys want to, third reading and further discussion?
yeah, I'd like to. I mean, I know that, you can't pick and choose who you want to screen and not screen in a situation like this. It's gotta be an across the board directive. But, yeah, the overall cost of it.
I'm not necessarily concerned about that. I just wondered if there was any feedback or if you started communicating that out.
I have not. Why don't we, with that in mind, why don't we not take action on that tonight? And
From what I understand, it doesn't sound like even if there is feedback, negative feedback, it doesn't sound like that's something we want to opt out of. So was not my intent.
And it's not my intent to kick the can down the road either. I just, I guess when would this be in?
Probably with the start of next school year.
The start of next school. So everybody, all district employees coming into the 2019-2020 school year before I can take place. Is there anything, how will the documentation be recorded? Okay.
So we, exactly the same as how we do it currently with new employees.
But I'm not, like I said, I'm not wanting to kick the can down the road. I'm willing to take action on this. I just wanted to ask some questions to find out where we stood on it. If anybody else has any questions. I can see it as a good thing, but I can also see it as, some people complaining that, hey, why do they have to do this? Well, here's the deal. You shouldn't have to worry about it if you don't have anything to ask that you're worried about. You see what I'm saying? So I make a motion that we move forward and adopt these policies for the 2019-20 or even at this point in time,
I did not get through all of them. Is there anything else that would, I mean, by far, I don't want to go through all of them right here.
Okay. Typically what I'll do is defer to what MSBA recommend, and that's their function of full policy service, and unless there's a compelling reason not to go with the recommendation.
So at this point,
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
When would be the proper time to think about taking action? Is there a response date?
Oh, on this, in some cases you'll have timelines, but we typically want to do it for second reading.
So we do.
Sometimes we're even, delayed, and that's a 2018 D batch, and we're through Q1 of 19. So that, but doesn't mean we have to rush.
I agree, and I would like to see this done at minimal cost to the district without having calling feds or anything else. I realize it's probably just a step up from what we're doing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next up is policy GCBDA and GDBDA revisions. And this is first reading.
This was brought up at our last meeting regarding how leave for adverse weather condition days would be granted. And policy currently specifically states that leave will not be granted for an employee due to an adverse weather condition. What I would like to recommend, and again, this is first reading, is to allow administrative discretion to be used when granting leave for adverse weather. There's a couple of reasons for this relating to employees that used their vacation time already. They can't apply that to that day. And then some days, frankly, we have more liability with our employees coming in than having them stay home and have the option to take leave days. So that was brought forward and requested, and putting that forward for first reading and feedback.
Thank you. This is for discussion and information only. Defense Communities Infrastructure Program. Jake.
So the board is aware from past conversations that we were successful in getting, helping get a new line item written into the NDAA, which is called the Defense Community Infrastructure Program. This was a big topic of conversation over the last year, and especially at the Installation Innovation Summit recently. It talks about what is defense infrastructure that, that goes beyond the gate and out into our communities, and really looking at how we make sure that as defense communities, we're providing the supports necessary to not only support the installation, but build strong, sustainable communities. I'm not going to read through this in detail, but the line item was written in, the target funding was at 100 million. And following that line item being written in, the Association of Defense Communities was asked to collect all projects from across the country that might be eligible for funding through this DSIP money. There were over 200 projects that were collected, and that met the criteria for consideration. Of those, there were 29 projects that were selected to be included in this report, which came out about a week or so ago. And this one in front went forward to Congress and Department of Defense for funding. We did have our project included as one of the 29 that made the report. That does not guarantee funding, but it does help create awareness of what we're trying to do here strategically, and the price tag that we're looking at in request for federal funding. I'm not getting overly excited about this, but at the same time, our project did make that list. I think it's the only education project. So I do feel like the awareness, if nothing else, will be good at the federal level. I'm very anxious to see how the president's budget is, the response to that, and what happens with these line items. And we'll look forward next week to speaking with our congressional delegation, specifically requesting support on this. What does this mean from a Milcon and defense point of view? I know there's it's a little bit Jekyll and Hyde, because there's definitely some concern from that this money would take away from available funding to support Milcon projects. So I know from a Air Force point of view, there's not an abundance of excitement about that right now. From a congressional delegation point of view, there's probably more excitement and motivation to get this funded. So we will see what happens, but certainly very pleased to see our project highlighted as an example of how these funds could be used.
Okay, thank you. Health insurance update.
Mr. Coron's going to take this one. Okay, so there's no great way to put this. I attended a meeting last Thursday with our current insurance provider, MEUHP. The district has been with them for a long time. And the last couple of years, as the board is aware, we've been bidding for other alternatives and do our claims. We just haven't been in a great position to do so. In the meeting last Thursday, we were notified that MEUHP is imposing a $576 assessment, which is an additional cost for every member that's in the plan this year. Details are provided in the attached renewal letter, but generally speaking, there were about $600 million in, $6 million increase payout above and beyond what was taken in through the program, and they are imposing this assessment to ensure their financial stability. Again, that's not just for Knob Noster, that's for all members in all 120 districts. MEUHP is a member-owned program, so the board consists of administrators throughout the state with an executive director, and the program historically has been a very good program. They're definitely not in the best spot they've ever been in right now. So this is, per the bylaws, this is something that is legal for them to do. Question would be asked, why are they imposing an assessment for this current year as opposed to just increasing the rate for next year? And that reason is there are enough people that are looking to complete the plan that they're wanting to charge those that are getting out an admission fee to get on the lifeboat and off the Titanic. So that's how it looks from my perspective, and that may be a little biased and probably not appreciated by MEUHP, but that's kind of the way I see that right now.
Is it per participant or member?
It's per employee. It does exclude anyone that's on any dependent, and I think it includes anyone that's on COBRA. So we're looking at a total cost of right at $114,000 in excess. We know from past discussion that's a big cost.
Is that going to be a firm number from them?
So the assessment is not recurring in and of itself, but based on what I'm seeing in the plan, I would suspect there will be another assessment at this time next year. It's just the plan. Part of it is bad timing, bad claims, but that's not all of what's going on. And frankly, there's other consortium groups that have been pulling away membership and offering other alternatives. So We are going to discuss this in executive session as it relates to the ratified collective bargaining agreement that we're currently operating under for the 17-18 school year, which has some specific language related to any costs that are incurred above and beyond what was approved in that ratified agreement by the board. And we will be moving forward with that. For those employees that are here and watching, my intent is to discuss good faith in situations with the board on how to address this unexpected situation. So that's the bad news. The good news is we received a 5% tier reduction, so we're going down a tier from where we were last year. So if we were to stay with the program, we would be in a lower tier next year, reducing our cost by 5%. That being said, the overall increase for the plan was 4.5% increase on PPOs and an 8.4% increase on the HSA plans. So that's going to be somewhere around a 2.5% net increase. As I mentioned at the start, we do have renewal rates from MUHP. We actually got our Blue Cross Blue Shield UKD rates in today, and tomorrow we'll be meeting with OSBA, another consortium, to review their rates. And I think that once we make a decision, we will be moving into a good place that I think our employees will be very pleased with as well. So just to be abundantly clear, this is not a Knob Noster thing. This is a program-wide MUHP assessment per member.
Next up, for discussion and information only, is 2019 summer projects.
This is the introductory list of projects that building administrators, district, and our directors have put forward for this year. It is not all inclusive. There will be some other small projects into the mix, but these are some of the major capital outlay projects that are being proposed. If you haven't been out to Whiteman lately, the parking lot asphalt is in pretty bad shape. We have some drainage issues and definitely some ongoing needs there. We're still pending a response from the assessment that was done through the Office of Economic Adjustment 18 months ago. I know they're kind of sitting on that report right now, but even if we are funded through that report, it does not, as I clearly requested, it does not cover costs outside the building envelope. So it will be interior and building structure itself only. So we have initial cost estimates on what we're looking at. Initial cost estimates on what we will be looking at out at Whiteman. The rest are relatively routine. The other item that I would point out is there's been a request to add a track shed over at the high school, kind of in the, I guess it would be the southeast corner of the field. There's a pad that's already there. Right now, we are storing our very expensive high jump and other mattings and materials up in the loft of the concession stand, and it's a little bit of a hassle to get it out there, but also not great for the longevity of keeping those pieces of equipment looking good. So that's been requested, and I'd like to propose that we go ahead and construct that.
Is the asphalt stop at Whiteman? I mean, I know that we've done this numerous times. It was the bus, and then are you talking about the bus? Or are you just talking about the parking lot?
All. There's the way that drain was done when that entrance was constructed. There's just some issues there that have persisted, and we want to try to come in and address that as well as resurfacing the parking lot. Mr. Needham said he'd go 50-50 with us on that, so we appreciate that, sir. Or was it 75-25?
Contracting.
Yes, I did review our contract, and it is very clearly specified who is responsible for that. I thought I would try.
Yeah. So is the intent to do some subsurface upgrades prior to putting that back down, or just a mill and overlay? Or?
We were looking at a mill and overlay, but we have multiple different initial bid options on depth and thickness of what we want to do. I intend to spec that out on a project of this size and have a bid, and then we will definitely want to make sure and get a sign off from the base on this project. So these are cost estimates only from a soft bid that is even.
Will there be any investigation?
There will be. It's it cools right there and has been an issue. And I do know that specifically at that spot, we definitely have some subsurface issues that we need to take.
It's been a while since I've been there, but I think there are surface drainage issues probably be best put underground in order to increase the lifespan of the parking lot. And most of the sheet drains off of that.
It wasn't a great design to start with, and we want to try to address that.
I think also a lot of it comes off the school, goes across there. Definitely take a look at it and take care of that and not maintain.
I know that at the high school where Mr. Plain, daylight is rain time. I don't know if you work with a contractor that just put in everything. Probably a good idea getting some of that water that was staying underneath the asphalt. Got it to drain out there.
Yeah, last year we put some tile, drain pipe underneath the asphalt before they overlaid it.
Where they laid the tile on.
We'll take a look at that. And I might check back too to see if I don't know that we're going to talk about enough costs there to set back for a year anyway to see if that could be covered. That potentially could be considered really an envelope, but I don't know if the scope is going to be that significant to do that.
Well, that kind of just depends on what extent you want. I definitely wouldn't delay that. I would ask, is there a longer term outlook on asphalt repair where it might make sense to do a multi-year contract where it will save you effort next year and possibly get a better price with a larger intent?
I don't know. I haven't considered that. We've kind of done it project as we go. Middle school's in pretty good shape. Andy's in decent shape.
I'd say what you have is in pretty good shape, but I think there's definitely parking efficiency, especially these two schools. I don't know if there is any way to rectify that. I cringe every time I have to come here, not knowing where you're going.
I think part of that is the fact that we just don't hear the property for additional parking.
There's always weighing things. And the other thing that doesn't weigh in very well is our on-street parking. especially when you look at that side of Lincoln, it's terrible. So I don't feel like we are the only one that uses that. I'll get into repairing the streets, but I almost consider that parking lot for us, doing the shoulder work and things like that, and get erosion and things taken care of. Especially long-term, we plan on being here, so go ahead and fix these issues. It doesn't necessarily have to be a one-year deal that pays that or something. I think definitely needs to be looked at. One thing I don't see on here in the nature of me, whenever I walk into the facility, start looking up and looking for water infiltration and things like that. That is probably the biggest thing that will kill a facility is water infiltration. I've seen some. I think it needs to be addressed online like this. How you do that. I'm happy to.
I think, I agree with you. They walk around some of these buildings and stuff. And bars coming up out of the ground and stuff. You know, in the past, you know, Mr. Thing and his teammate did some extensive work behind the middle school, putting some huge drain tile. And it takes time to get that kind of stuff done. But, you know, when you spend money on $200,000 worth of doing hope that passed, possibly, you know, moisture, water, or something destroying it. I mean, I know we put a lot, you know, when you have to wait for buses on stuff, and then there's the trash truck, and there's probably nothing heavier than a wet trash truck. I mean, yeah, it really does a number on that.
Who would put street lights up right here?
Who should or who would?
Well, the reason why I'm asking is, you know, we've had a couple things, and I never really realized how dark it is out of middle school. And of course, now the time has changed, thankfully, and so we're going to be lighter later, and that would be very nice. But I don't know whose responsibility that is. It's pretty dark when you walk back. I mean, you get 2 steps away from the middle school, and it's
actually somewhat dark when you walk out of this building after a week. You know,
I know, I'm scared.
I
Anyways,
can,
I thought I'd just throw that out there.
we can take a look at all of this. I don't suspect we're going to get a lot of partnership from the city, unfortunately, right now. And when we talk about a vapor, we know from our past assessment a couple of years ago that we had significant issues with how a roof was installed. And the cost to do that the right way, let's go to truly repair it the right way is going to be very, very expensive. I would defer to Dean to talk about, I mean, I've been in brand new schools with leaks. I've been in old schools with no leaks and everything in between. But I've never been in well, I said that wrong. I've never been in a school that doesn't leak. That's part of what we deal with, and then to approach it. But we know that the through wall metal roof that was installed did not have the through wall joints. There's a lot of issues with what was done. We can look at that, and typically when you talk about roofing projects, it's we are in a position where we can spend some money out of reserves. We know that we've done that, this being one of the reasons. We also might want to look at delaying just a little bit longer to see if we're going to go to our voters for a variety of things and after that. But we can look at that. Do you have any additional comments, Mr. Bazenga? Please.
From what I see, a lot of the roofs just have to make like butt joints. You know, from one layer to another, and even when the wind blows, the roofs move around. So I think some of it is poor workmanship originally. And, that's what I've got to say.
Now, if the board wishes, we can definitely do lights, and I mean, that scope of what we're talking about is not, when we talk about lights and parking, that's something that you want to move forward on now, we can definitely take a look at that and move back as.
But I like the idea of possibly. My suggestion, in case we have money, that probably call one of their engineers up. What would it take?
I don't think we're going to take. I think we priced moving a pole out here, and it was, you know what the cost was almost.
How much? 2,000. Move light pole in the sidewalk out here. I could put LED lights on the front of the building, so around the bus barn. And we got around high school, and I like the whole front.
I'm gonna step back and say, maybe you shouldn't call. I'm not backpedaling on that one.
We can, decorative would be functional, we just want to make sure that we accomplish the intent of what we're wanting to do. Then you get into sidewalks and, you know, other considerations, but we can take a look at that and see. Frankly, it would look really nice. It would, I mean, some nice decorative lights in various areas of town would be really nice. So we can take a look at that.
So we talk about our presentation to the public like that. Like, I would like to see more of a long-term, you know, investment type look into that. Whether it's lights, parking, whatever. That's one of the things that you can drive by in schools. If they have a choice in the matter, that's, whether it means anything or not, that's going to weigh in on that decision. Definitely, I think it would be in the best interest to at least look at that, evaluate that. Cost too much, it costs too much, but at least get it out in front of the board. So definitely, yes, I would say we get all of those. As for committing to it, absolutely not.
I think given that, for several years now, I have seen a lot of improvements in the way of folks, but that when you pull up to the high school or middle school or the school for that matter, or like in the last 10 years, we have previous Board of Education has spent money on these buildings to make them. No, I don't, we're getting there, it's just taking a while.
This is, I see just another step. But
yes, that's exactly where I see it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, under old business, we have CSIP update, and this is for an action item.
This is provided final reading and approval. No feedback or changes have been made since last meeting.
make a motion to approve the CSIP on school board surveys.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor? Aye. And then we are adjourned to executive session. I will need a motion to adjourn to executive session pursuant to RSMO 610.02139 and 13 by roll call vote.
Make a motion to adjourn to executive session pursuant to RSMO 610.02139 and 13.
Second motion.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
And we will do executive at 10 minutes till. Thank you all for coming.